You work harder than everyone around you, but somehow you're still stuck in the same place, watching others succeed effortlessly. What if I told you the problem isn't your effort? It's the invisible mental programs running in the background of your mind. In this video, I'll share 6 psychological patterns discovered by neuroscientists that are quietly destroying your potential and exactly how to rewire them starting today. I discovered these patterns after spending 2 years researching cognitive psychology and interviewing high performers who seem to achieve success with less stress. The problem is, most people are fighting against their own programming without even realizing it. Your conscious goals say, "I want success," but your subconscious thoughts are broadcasting, "I'm not ready," or "I don't deserve this." By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which thought patterns are holding you back and the precise steps to reprogram them. Let's dive in. Now, here's where it gets interesting, and most people never catch this happening. Pattern number 1. The spotlight saboteur. This is your mind's tendency to magnify your mistakes while minimizing your wins. You nail 9 things at work, but obsess over the one critical email you forgot to send. You give a presentation where 47 minutes go perfectly, but you replay the 3 seconds you stumbled over a word for the next 3 days. Your brain has developed a negativity filter that's systematically erasing evidence of your competence. Research from the National Science Foundation found that 80% of our daily thoughts are negative, and 95% are repetitive. This isn't a personal flaw. It's evolutionary wiring. Your ancestors survived because their brains were hypersensitive to threats, not opportunities. The problem is, your ancient brain can't tell the difference between a physical predator and a work presentation. So it treats your small mistakes like life-threatening events, flooding your system with stress hormones that cement those memories deeper than your successes. Psychologists call this negativity bias, and it's literally rewiring your neural pathways to expect failure. So how do you apply this? First, start an evidence journal tonight, before bed. Write down 3 specific things you did well today. Not generic stuff like, "I was productive," but concrete evidence like, "I solved the client problem in 15 minutes." Or, "I made Sarah laugh during the meeting." Second, when you catch yourself replaying a mistake, immediately ask, "Would I judge my best friend this harshly for this?" The answer is always no. Third, create a success vault on your phone, where you screenshot compliments, save positive emails, and record wins. When self-doubt creeps in, scroll through this vault for 5 minutes. Fourth, avoid saying, "I'm so stupid," or "I always mess up." Your subconscious mind accepts these statements as instructions. Instead, try, "I'm learning," or "That didn't go as planned, and here's what I'll adjust." But that's not all. This next pattern is even more sneaky. Pattern number 2, the future fear loop. This one is crucial, because it's probably running in your mind right now without you noticing. The future fear loop is when your mind constantly rehearses catastrophic outcomes instead of successful ones. You're not thinking about your presentation. You're mentally living through the version where you freeze, people laugh, and your career crumbles. You're not planning your business. You're experiencing the bankruptcy, the shame, the "I told you so's" from family. Your brain is running disaster simulations on repeat. And here's the kicker. Your nervous system can't tell the difference between imagination and reality. So you're experiencing the stress, anxiety, and failure of events that haven't happened and likely never will. A study from Cornell University found that 85% of what we worry about never happens. And for the 15% that does occur, 79% of people reported handling it better than expected. But your brain doesn't care about statistics. It cares about protection. Neuroscientist Dr. Rick Hansen explains that our brains are like Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive ones. When you mentally rehearse failure, you're strengthening those neural pathways, literally training your brain to expect and even create failure. It's like practicing free throws while visualizing the ball missing every time. You're programming yourself for the exact outcome you're trying to avoid. Here's how to apply this. First, the moment you catch yourself catastrophizing, press pause and ask, "Is this thought helping me prepare, or is it just rehearsing pain?" If it's not actionable, it's just mental torture. Second, practice outcome flipping. For every disaster scenario your mind creates, force yourself to imagine 3 positive outcomes with equal detail. If you imagine bombing the interview, you must also imagine getting the job, excelling in it, and getting promoted. Third, use the 5-5-5 rule when anxiety strikes. Will this matter in 5 days, 5 months, 5 years? This snaps your brain out of catastrophe mode. Fourth, schedule worry time. Give yourself 15 minutes each day to worry intensely. Write down every fear, then close the notebook. When fears pop up outside this window, tell yourself, I'll think about that during worry time. Your brain learns it will get its turn, so it stops interrupting constantly. Now, let's talk about something even more powerful: the words you use in your own head. Pattern number 3, the language trap. Most people don't know this, but the specific words you use when talking to yourself are either building bridges or planting landmines. The language trap is the subtle difference between empowering and disempowering self-talk. It's the difference between I have to finish this project versus I get to work on this project, between I'm terrible at public speaking versus I'm still developing my public speaking skills, between I failed versus I got feedback. These seem like tiny word swaps, but they completely change how your brain perceives reality. Disempowering language creates mental resistance, triggers stress responses, and reinforces limiting identities. Empowering language opens possibilities, reduces resistance, and reminds you that you're evolving, not fixed. Dr. Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist at Stanford, explains that language directly influences your nervous system state. When you say, I can't handle this, your brain releases cortisol and prepares for threat. When you say, this is challenging, and I'm figuring it out, your brain releases dopamine and acetylcholine, chemicals that enhance learning and problem solving. A study published in Psychological Science found that people who used I am statements about temporary struggles performed worse than those who used I'm working on statements. Your subconscious mind treats I am statements as permanent identity markers, while I'm learning statements keep the door open for growth. This is why Olympic athletes and Navy SEALs are reined in specific self-talk protocols, because language is a performance-enhancing drug that's completely free. Here's how to apply this. First, for the next 7 days, catch yourself every time you say, I am, followed by something negative. Replace it with, right now, I'm experiencing, or I'm in the process of. Second, eliminate 3 phrases from your vocabulary. I can't, I'm not good at, and I always. Replace them with I haven't yet, I'm developing skill in, and in the past I've. Third, when describing challenges, add the word yet to the end. I don't understand this yet. I haven't achieved that yet. This tiny word tells your brain the story isn't over. Fourth, reframe obligations as opportunities. Change, I have to go to work, to I get to earn income and develop skills. It sounds cheesy, but neuroscience confirms it reduces stress by up to 30% and increases motivation. But wait, there's more to this. The next pattern controls whether you even start. Pattern number 4, perfectionism paralysis. This one is fascinating, and it's probably the biggest invisible dream killer affecting ambitious people. Perfectionism paralysis is when your standards are so high that you never actually begin. You don't start the YouTube channel because the first video won't be perfect. You don't apply for the promotion because you haven't mastered every qualification yet. You don't launch the business because the website isn't flawless. You've convinced yourself that not good enough is the same as worthless, so you wait for some magical moment when you'll feel ready. But here's the truth nobody tells you. That moment never comes. Perfectionists don't produce more excellence, they produce more nothing. They're standing at the starting line critiquing their form instead of running the race. Psychologist Dr. Thomas Greenspan found that perfectionism isn't about high standards, it's about conditional self-worth. You've linked your value as a human being to external achievement, so every project becomes an identity referendum, rather than a learning experiment. Your brain says, if this fails, I'm worthless, so the stakes become paralyzing. Meanwhile, research from Stanford shows that high achievers who embrace optimal standards rather than perfect standards accomplish 40% more because they're actually in motion. The Japanese have a concept called wabi-sabi, finding beauty in imperfection, and the tech world has MVP, which stands for minimum viable product. Launch something imperfect, get feedback, improve. Every successful person you admire became successful by releasing imperfect work, learning, and iterating. Your first version doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to exist. So how do you apply this? First, adopt the B- rule. Give yourself permission to do a B- job on your first attempt at anything new. This doesn't mean lazy. It means accepting that learning curves exist. Second, set a deadline before you feel ready. If you're waiting to feel confident, you'll wait forever. Confidence comes from action, not the other way around. Third, use the 20-mile march principle from Jim Collins. Do something small but consistent every day rather than waiting for the perfect 8-hour window to do it perfectly. Write 200 words instead of waiting to write the perfect chapter. Record a 3-minute video instead of scripting the perfect 20-minute masterpiece. Fourth, when perfectionism freezes you, ask, what would this look like if it were easy? Then do that version. You can always improve version 2, but you can't improve something that doesn't exist. This brings me to the next secret, one that determines whether you'll sustain success or sabotage it. Pattern number 5, the unworthiness whisper. Now you might be thinking, I don't struggle with self-worth. But stick with me. This pattern operates in the shadows. The unworthiness whisper is your subconscious belief that you don't deserve the success you're pursuing. This isn't always obvious. It disguises itself as being humble or staying grounded or not wanting to get my hopes up. But watch what happens when opportunities appear. You downplay your achievements in conversations. You self-sabotage right before breakthroughs. You feel anxious when things are going well, waiting for the other shoe to drop. You reject compliments, deflect praise, or feel like an imposter when recognized. Deep down, there's a quiet voice saying, people like me don't get that, or I'm not the type of person who, and your actions unconsciously align with that belief, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy of limitation. Psychologist Gay Hendricks calls this the upper limit problem. We each have an unconscious thermostat for how much success, love, and happiness we believe we can handle. When we exceed that limit, we subconsciously create problems to return to our familiar level. A study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people with low self-worth actually feel uncomfortable receiving compliments because it conflicts with their self-image, so they reject or minimize positive feedback. Neuroscientist Dr. Joe Dispenza explains that your personality creates your personal reality. If you identify as someone who struggles, your brain will filter opportunities through that lens and literally not see pathways to success. It's not that the opportunities aren't there. It's that your unworthiness filter is screening them out before they reach your conscious awareness. This is why lottery winners often lose everything. Their wealth increased, but their self-worth didn't. So they unconsciously self-sabotaged back to familiar ground. Here's how to apply this. First, complete this sentence honestly. People like me don't. Whatever comes after reveals your worthiness ceiling. Then ask, where did I learn that? Is it actually true, or is it an inherited belief? Second, practice worthy receiving. When someone compliments you, resist the urge to deflect. Simply say thank you, I appreciate that, and let yourself absorb it for 5 full seconds. This rewires your brain to accept positive input. Third, write a permission slip to yourself. I give myself full permission to be successful, wealthy, happy, and recognized without punishment, sabotage, or guilt. Read it daily. This sounds silly, but it confronts the unconscious contracts you've made about what you're allowed to have. Fourth, when opportunities appear and fear arises, separate the fear from the message. Fear will say, who do you think you are? The truth is, I'm someone who's expanding beyond old limits, and that feels uncomfortable, and I'm doing it anyway. Now, Let's talk about the final pattern, the one that keeps you trapped in cycles. Pattern number 6, the identity anchor. This last one is powerful because it explains why people can't seem to change even when they desperately want to. The identity anchor is your unconscious commitment to outdated versions of yourself. You say you want to be successful, but you still identify as the struggling one. You want to be healthy, but you identify as someone with a slow metabolism. You want to be confident, but you identify as the shy person. Every time you introduce yourself, tell your story, or think about who you are, you're reinforcing an identity. And here's the critical part. You will always act in alignment with your identity, even if it contradicts your goals. If you identify as not a morning person, you'll sabotage every attempt to wake up RYL because it conflicts with your sense of self. Your brain would rather be right about who you are than succeed at something that contradicts that identity. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, says, "The most effective way to change your behavior is to focus on who you wish to become, not what you want to achieve." Research in behavioral psychology confirms that identity-based habits are significantly more sustainable than outcome-based habits. When you say, "I'm trying to quit smoking," you still identify as a smoker who's resisting. But when you say, "I'm not a smoker," you've changed identity, and decisions become automatic. A study published in the Journal of Consumer Research found that people who said, "I don't eat sugar," which is identity, had far greater success than those who said, "I can't eat sugar," which is restriction. Your brain's reticular activating system filters reality based on identity. If you identify as unsuccessful, you'll literally not see opportunities that successful people notice every day. You're not lacking opportunities. You're wearing an identity filter that makes them invisible. Here's how to apply this. First, audit your current identity by completing this sentence 10 times. I am someone who. Write whatever comes naturally. These statements are your current programming. Second, design your desired identity. Write, I am becoming someone who, and describe your future self in present tense language. I am someone who solves problems calmly. I am someone who follows through on commitments. I am someone who takes calculated risks. Third, use identity voting. Every action is a vote for the type of person you're becoming. When you keep a promise to yourself, you're casting a vote for someone who honors commitments. Stack enough votes, and your brain updates your identity file. Fourth, change how you introduce yourself. Instead of, I'm trying to be an entrepreneur, say, I'm an entrepreneur building my first business. The words you use to describe yourself become the instructions your subconscious follows. Finally, surround yourself with people who reflect your desired identity, not your old one. If everyone in your life still sees you as the old you, their expectations will pull you backward like gravity. Find communities where your desired identity is the norm, not the exception. Let's quickly review what we covered today, because understanding these patterns intellectually is only 10% of the battle. Implementing them is everything. Number 1, the spotlight saboteur. Your brain magnifies failures and minimizes wins, so build an evidence journal and success vault to rewire the bias. Number 2, the future fear loop. You're rehearsing disasters instead of success, so practice outcome flipping and the 5-5-5 rule to break the catastrophe cycle. Number 3, the language trap. Your self-talk is either empowering or imprisoning, so eliminate I am plus negative statements and add yet to everything. Number 4, perfectionism paralysis. Waiting for perfect conditions means never starting, so adopt the B- rule and take imperfect action today. Number 5, the unworthiness whisper. You're unconsciously rejecting the success you consciously desire, so write yourself a permission slip and practice worthy receiving. Number 6, the identity anchor. You're committed to an outdated version of yourself, so redesign your identity and use every action as a vote for who you're becoming. Remember, your thoughts aren't facts, they're habits. And just like you learn to brush your teeth or tie your shoes, you learn these mental patterns, which means you can unlearn them and install new ones. You have everything you need to reprogram your mind. You just didn't know these patterns were running in the background. The only difference between where you are now and where you want to be is recognizing these sabotage programs and consciously overriding them with new code. Don't wait until you've wasted another year wondering why nothing changes despite all your effort. Start with just one pattern, whichever resonated most with you, and commit to interrupting it for the next 7 days. I promise you, 1 week from now you'll notice the difference. 1 month from now, people around you will notice the difference. And 1 year from now, you'll barely recognize the person you used to be. If you found this helpful, hit that like button so more people can discover these patterns. It helps the algorithm share this with people who need it. Subscribe for more psychology-backed self-improvement content like this. Drop a comment telling me which pattern you struggle with most, or share which strategy you're implementing first. I read every comment and your insight might help someone else. And if you want to learn the specific morning routine that compounds these mindset shifts, check out this video next, where I break down the neuroscience of habit formation. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.